The first thing Daniel noticed when he woke up was the smell. It wasn't rot. It wasn't blood. It was something far worse. Old breath, like a mouth that had been whispering in the dark for years and had never once been cleaned by silence. His eyes snapped open. He was lying on a bed that wasn't his. The ceiling above him sagged in the middle, stained with spreading brown rings, as if something had been dripping there for decades. The air was thick, heavy, pressing against his lungs. When he tried to sit up, the mattress groaned beneath him, a long, tired sound, like it resented being disturbed. Daniel's heart began to race. He didn't remember coming here. The last thing he remembered was driving. Night. Rain so heavy it erased the road. His phone's GPS had stopped working, frozen on a spinning circle. He'd taken a wrong turn. He was sure of that, and then the headlights had caught something standing in the road. Something that hadn't moved. After that, nothing. "Hello," he called out. His voice sounded wrong in the room. Too soft, like the walls were absorbing it. He swung his legs off the bed. The floor was icy cold, though the air was warm. When his bare feet touched the wood, he flinched. It felt uneven, warped, as if it had swollen and shrunk over and over again. There was only one door. It was already open. Beyond it stretched a hallway that seemed longer than it should have been, lit by a single flickering bulb at the far end. The light pulsed slowly, like a weak heartbeat. Daniel stepped into the hallway. The smell grew stronger. It followed him. With every step, he became more aware of the silence. Not the peaceful kind. This was a silence that listened back. A silence that felt expectant. Halfway down the hallway, he noticed the walls. They were covered in scratches. Thousands of them. Some shallow, some deep enough to expose the wood beneath the paint. Long marks. Short marks. Spirals. Words scratched so hard the letters had splintered. "Don't sleep. It watches. We never left." Daniel swallowed. At the end of the hall, the light went out. Darkness swallowed everything. Then, softly, from somewhere behind him, breathing. Slow. Wet. Too close. Daniel spun around, his heart slamming against his ribs. The hallway was empty, but the breathing didn't stop. It moved. Not around him. Inside the walls. He backed away until his shoulders hit the wall, his skin crawling as the sound passed behind the plaster, sliding along like lungs dragging against wood. Suddenly, a door creaked open to his left. He hadn't touched it. Against every instinct screaming in his body, Daniel stepped inside. The room was a living room, if it could still be called that. Furniture sat under thick white sheets, each shape hunched and human-like. A television rested in the corner, its screen cracked, glowing faintly with static. As soon as Daniel entered, the TV volume rose on its own. Whispering filled the room. Dozens of voices layered together, overlapping, desperate. "He's awake. Don't let him sleep. It learns your face first." Daniel backed away. The screen suddenly cleared. His face stared back at him. Not a reflection. A recording. On the screen, he was sleeping on the same bed he'd woken up in. The timestamp in the corner flickered wildly, the date unreadable. In the video, something sat at the edge of the bed. It was tall. Its limbs bent the wrong way, knees angled backward, arms hanging too long. Its head brushed the ceiling, though it was sitting, and it was watching him sleep. In the video, Daniel's sleeping body twitched. The thing's head turned slowly toward the camera. Its face had no eyes, just a wide, vertical mouth that opened impossibly far, stretching until the skin around it tore. The TV shut off. The room plunged into darkness. Something cold wrapped around Daniel's wrist. He screamed and yanked his arm back, stumbling into one of the covered shapes. The sheet slid off, revealing a chair. A chair with fingernails embedded in the armrests. Hundreds of them. Some old and yellowed. Some fresh. Bloody. Daniel ran. He burst through another door and found himself in a kitchen that smelled like rust and old water. The sink was overflowing, though no faucet was running. The cabinets hung open, empty except for clumps of hair stuck to the shelves. On the table lay a notebook. Daniel hesitated, then opened it. The pages were filled with the same handwriting, frantic and uneven. Day 3. It only comes when I sleep. Day 7. It stands closer now. I can feel it breathing. Day 12. It wears my face when it thinks I'm dreaming. Day 14. I don't think I'm the original anymore. The final page was blank, except for fresh ink slowly seeping into the paper, forming letters on its own. You fell asleep in the car. Daniel dropped the notebook. A loud thump echoed from above. Then another. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate, coming down the stairs. Daniel turned toward the kitchen doorway. A figure appeared. It looked like him. Same height, same face, same clothes he remembered wearing while driving. But its eyes were wrong. They were too wide, unblinking, glossy like wet glass. Its smile stretched too far, tugging at the corners of its mouth. You shouldn't have woken up, it said, speaking in Daniel's voice. It doesn't like when they wake up early. Daniel backed away, shaking his head. You're not real. The thing tilted its head. I'm the part that stayed asleep. It lunged. Daniel ran, slipping on the wet floor, barely catching himself as he crashed through another door and tumbled down a narrow staircase. He landed hard, the air knocked from his lungs. He was in a basement. The walls were covered in mirrors. Every mirror reflected him, except none of the reflections moved when he did. They just stared. In the center of the room stood a mattress. Stained, used, loved. Above it, carved into a wooden beam, were the words, "This is where it practices." A sound rose behind him. A deep, resonant inhale. The temperature dropped instantly. Daniel turned slowly. It stood behind him. The real one. Its body bent and unfolded as it straightened, bones popping like breaking twigs. Its skin was pale and stretched thin, almost translucent, as if something inside was pressing to get out. Where its eyes should have been were deep, wet hollows that leaked black fluid down its face. When it spoke, it used many voices. You saw me on the road, it said. You slowed down. You looked. That was enough. Daniel's legs wouldn't move. I don't want you, he whispered. The thing leaned down until its mouth hovered inches from his face. We don't want your body, it replied. We want your sleep. The mirrors began to crack. In each reflection, Daniel saw himself lying in his car, slumped over the steering wheel, rain pounding against the windshield. Paramedics stood outside, their faces grim. Flatline. The sound echoed through the basement. You died for 12 seconds, the thing whispered. That's how long it takes us to crawl in. The thing opened its mouth. Inside was not darkness. It was a bedroom. His bedroom. The bed waited. Clean. Inviting. Daniel screamed as the world folded inward, as his memories were peeled apart, replayed, studied. He felt himself being laid down, felt his eyes closing against his will. The last thing he heard was the thing sighing contentedly as it settled beside him. Sleep, it said gently. I'll be awake for you now. Somewhere on a rain-soaked highway, a car sat abandoned. Inside, a man suddenly gasped back to life. His eyes snapped open, and something deep inside him smiled. Iron speech bubble smiling face with horns. The rain started the moment Sarah crossed the town limit sign. Welcome to Gray Haven. Population 1,102. The number beneath it was scratched, as if someone had tried to erase it with their fingernails. Sarah noticed it, but didn't stop. She was already late, her phone battery blinking red, GPS signal long gone. Greyhaven wasn't on her route, but the detour signs had forced her here. One night, one drive, she told herself. Then she'd be out. The town looked abandoned. Streetlights flickered without rhythm. Houses stood too close together, leaning inward as if whispering secrets. Every window was dark, except one at the far end of the street. A dim yellow glow pulsed slowly, like breathing. Sarah's radio crackled. Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. She slapped the dashboard. The sound cut off. Her car stalled. The engine died with a choking sound, and the headlights went out. Darkness swallowed the street instantly. Sarah's heart pounded as she tried the ignition again. Nothing. Rain hammered harder, blurring the windshield. She reached for her phone, dead. Then she saw movement. Someone stood in front of her car. A woman. She was soaked, her long dress clinging to her thin frame. Her hair hung over her face, hiding it completely. She didn't move. She didn't raise her hands. She just stood there, inches from the hood. Sarah rolled down the window slightly. "Hey, I'm stuck. Can you help me?" The woman's head tilted sharply, unnaturally. Slowly, she lifted her face. Her eyes were gone, just smooth skin stretched tight where they should have been. Sarah screamed and slammed the window up. The woman smiled anyway. Her mouth opened far too wide, stretching past human limits. A loud knock echoed from the back seat window. Sarah spun around. Someone was sitting behind her. A man, pale, wet. His neck bent slightly to one side, like it was broken and never fixed. "You shouldn't look at them," he whispered. "They remember faces." Sarah fumbled for the door handle, but the locks clicked down on their own. The man leaned closer. "This town only keeps what arrives alive." The car lights flickered back on. Both figures were gone. Sarah didn't think. She floored the accelerator. The car jerked forward, tires screeching as she sped through the empty streets. She didn't look back. She didn't notice she was driving in circles. The same bakery passed her. The same broken clock tower. The same dog corpse on the sidewalk, bloated and unmoving. Each time, it looked fresher. Breathing harder, Sarah slammed the brakes near the clock tower and jumped out into the rain. She needed help. A phone. A house. Anything. The yellow-lit window from before was closer now. She ran toward it. The house was old, its door already open. Warm light spilled onto the porch. Inside, the air smelled of dust and old perfume. "Hello," Sarah called. A dozen heads turned toward her at once. The living room was full of people, men, women, children, all sitting perfectly still. Their clothes were outdated, styles from different decades. Their faces were expressionless. Every single one of them had no eyes. The door slammed shut behind her. A woman stood up slowly. Her jaw hung loose, skin sagging unnaturally. "We don't get visitors often," she said. Her voice came from everywhere, especially ones who can still see. Sarah backed away. "What is this place?" Gray laughter filled the room. "A waiting room," the woman replied. "For the almost dead." The lights flickered. Suddenly, the room changed. Sarah saw herself. Not here, but somewhere else. A hospital room. Machines beeping. Her body lay on a bed, unmoving, bloodied. "No," Sarah whispered. "You fell asleep at the wheel," another voice said gently. A child stood beside her now, his head twisted backward. Your heart stopped for a little while. The people stood. They moved closer. "When that happens," the woman said, "we're allowed to try you on." Hands touched Sarah's arms. Cold. Numb. "You don't belong to one body yet," they murmured. "Neither do we." Sarah screamed and shoved through them, sprinting toward a hallway that hadn't been there before. Doors lined the walls. From behind each door came sounds. Crying, laughing, screaming, whispering. She opened one. Inside was her car. The crash replayed again and again, her head hitting the wheel, glass exploding, rain pouring in. She slammed the door shut and ran. At the end of the hallway stood a mirror. Her reflection smiled, but she wasn't smiling. "I'm almost finished," the reflection said. "They like me better." Sarah felt something pulling her backward. Hands. Dozens of them. She clawed at the mirror as cracks spread across it. The reflection screamed, not in pain, but in rage. "Wake up!" Sarah shouted at herself. The mirror shattered. Sarah gasped. She woke up choking, air flooding her lungs painfully. Bright lights burned her eyes. Voices shouted, She's back. We have a pulse. Sarah lay in a hospital bed, trembling. Machines beeped steadily. A nurse leaned over her, relief on her face. You're safe, she said softly. You were in an accident. Sarah nodded weakly. But something felt wrong. Very wrong. Later, alone in the room, Sarah looked toward the window. Across the glass, faint handprints slowly appeared from the inside, pressing outward. And in the reflection, for just a second, her eyes didn't blink. They watched. The voicemail arrived at 3:17 a.m. Ethan didn't hear it right away. His phone was face down on the nightstand, vibrating softly like it was afraid to make noise. When he finally woke, it wasn't the vibration that stirred him, it was the feeling of being watched. His bedroom was dark, lit only by the pale glow of the streetlight outside. Everything looked normal. Too normal. He reached for his phone. One new voicemail. Unknown number. Ethan frowned. No one ever left him voicemails anymore. He pressed play. At first, there was only static. Then breathing. Slow. Uneven. Familiar. Ethan's stomach tightened. A whisper followed. Ethan, why didn't you wake up? The voicemail ended. His hands were shaking now. He checked the timestamp. 3:16 a.m. 1 minute ago. Someone had recorded that just outside his room. He was sure of it. He sat up, heart pounding, scanning the shadows. His door was closed, exactly how he always left it. The lock hadn't moved. Hello, he called. Silence answered. He told himself it was a prank. A coincidence. Maybe someone had spoofed his number. Still, he didn't sleep again. The next morning, Ethan listened to the voicemail again. In daylight, it sounded worse. The breathing was unmistakably human, close to the microphone. And the whisper, it sounded exactly like his own voice. He deleted it. At work, he couldn't focus. Around noon, his phone buzzed again. New voicemail. His chest tightened. This one was longer. Static. Breathing. Then footsteps. Slow steps. Echoing, like someone walking barefoot on hardwood. I stood by your bed, the voice whispered. You didn't move. You never move when you dream. Ethan slammed the phone down. He left work early. When he reached his apartment, the first thing he noticed was the smell, stale air, like a room that hadn't been opened in years. He checked every corner. Windows locked. Doors secure. No signs of entry. In the bathroom mirror, he paused. There were dark circles under his eyes. He didn't remember dreaming. That night, Ethan didn't turn off the lights. He sat on his bed with his phone in his hand, recording. If someone is messing with me, he said aloud. This isn't funny. He hit stop. Nothing happened. Hours passed. At 3:17 a.m., his phone buzzed. A new voicemail appeared. His blood ran cold. He hadn't sent anything. With trembling fingers, he played it. This time, there was no static. Only his bedroom. He could hear the hum of the ceiling fan, the distant traffic outside, the exact sounds surrounding him now. Then his own voice spoke. I'm sitting on the bed, it said. I'm holding my phone. I think it can hear me. Ethan screamed and dropped the device. The voicemail continued playing on the floor. I'm right behind you. Ethan spun around. Nothing. He ran out of the apartment and didn't stop until sunrise. He stayed at a friend's place the next night. He told himself distance would help. At 3:17 a.m., his phone buzzed again. Voicemail. This one was short. You're not home, the voice said, sounding disappointed. That makes this harder. Ethan turned his phone off. The next day, exhausted and desperate, Ethan searched online. Forums, paranormal threads, sleep disorders, anything. One post caught his attention. If you hear yourself while you sleep, stop listening. The post described something called the second recorder, a phenomenon where a person unknowingly records themselves during sleep. Not with devices, but with memory. The mind, it claimed, could split under stress. But the comments were worse. It's not recording you. It's learning when you're empty. That night, Ethan returned home. He needed answers. He set up cameras in his bedroom, audio recorders. His phone placed face up, screen glowing. "I'm not sleeping," he whispered. At 3:10 a.m., his eyes burned with exhaustion. At 3:17 a.m., the lights flickered. Every device turned on at once. Ethan felt it then, the heaviness, like something pressing down on his chest, slowing his breathing. The cameras were still recording, but Ethan wasn't moving. He was lying down. He was asleep. No, he was watching himself sleep. He stood near the door, heart racing, staring at his own body on the bed. His chest rose and fell slowly, peacefully. Something else stood beside the bed. It was shaped like him. Wrongly. Its limbs were slightly too long. Its head tilted at an impossible angle. Its mouth moved when it breathed, but no sound came out. Until it spoke. Every night, it said softly, "You leave. Just for a little while." Ethan tried to scream. No sound came out. "That's when I practice," the thing continued. "Your voice. Your breathing. Your life." The thing leaned over Ethan's sleeping body and gently placed a hand on his chest. "You never remember leaving," it whispered, "but I always remember staying." The cameras clicked off. Ethan woke up screaming at sunrise, tangled in his sheets. Every device in the room was powered down. His phone lay on the nightstand. One new voicemail. He didn't listen. He packed a bag and left the apartment for good. Weeks passed. No more voicemails. No more 3:17 a.m. terror. Ethan started to believe it was over. Until one evening, while brushing his teeth, he noticed something in the mirror. His reflection blinked. A second after he did. That night, his phone buzzed one last time. Voicemail. He pressed play. A calm, steady voice spoke. "You can sleep now," it said. "I don't need to practice anymore." The call ended. Ethan lay awake until morning. But somewhere at 3:17 a.m., something smiled, wide and familiar, and finally stopped recording. Ein speech bubble, smiling face with horns.